So in this lesson, we're going to be dividing radicals. Radical 8 divided by radical 2. Okay? What I want you guys to realize is this is the same thing as writing the square root of 8 over 2. I don't have to separate my square root signs. All right? They're the same thing. You can separate them. You don't have to, but just be able to interchange them. So if I have square root of 8 over square root of 2, can I simplify this fraction first? Can I simplify 8 divided by 2? Yeah. And what do I get?
4.
So here this is the square root of 4, and the square root of 4 is 2. So if you have an easy way out, try to get it. Try to find it. Next example. Square root of 20 over square root of 3. If I put this on together, can I divide 20 by divided by 3? I can't get anything even, right? Can I simplify square root of 20? To what? So I can break this up into square root of 4 times 5 over square root of 3 I can't touch. Square root of 4 is 2 radical 5 over radical 3. Now, for fractions with radicals, you're not allowed to have a radical 3 in your denominator. You're not allowed to have a square root in your denominator. So to clear the square root, is I'm going to multiply this denominator by radical 3. Because when I multiply radical 3 times radical 3, what's my answer? Square root of 9 or just 3. So that will get rid of my radical every time. But I can't just multiply my denominator by radical 3. I have to multiply both numerator and denominator by radical 3. Now if I do so, 2 radical 5 times radical 3 becomes 2 radical 15 over 3. Can I simplify 2 and 3? Can I simplify radical 15 over 3? No, okay? So they both have to be in the radical sign in order for you to simplify. So this here will be my final answer. Radical 10, a to the 5th, over radical a. If you notice, they both have an a in numerator and denominator. So if I want to look at this like 10a to the 5th over a, can I simplify anything? Yeah, I can simplify my a's. So a to the 5th and a can simplify, and I'll be left with radical 10a to the 4th. Can I simplify this now? Can I simplify the square root of 10? No. Can I simplify the square root of a to the 4th? Yes. So this comes out as a squared radical 10. So the square root of 12x to the 4th, y cubed, over 3xy. Right? I see that 12 and 3 can be divisible by one another. X to the 4th and x can be simplified. Y to the 3rd and y can be simplified. So let's simplify this. So we're going to have 12 divided by 3 is 4. X to the 4th over x to the 1st becomes x to the 3rd. And y to the 3rd over y to the 1st becomes y squared. So now I simplified, and now let me simplify again. 4 I'm going to leave alone for a second. X cubed. Can I simplify x cubed? I'm going to break it down to x squared times x to the 1st, and I have y squared. Now I'm going to go ahead and simplify it. So what's the square root of 4? What's the square root of x squared? What's the square root of x to the 1st? It stays inside. Square root of y squared? Y, and then we're going to just have the square root of x. Okay, 4 radical 8 over 2 radical 20. Okay, I can start simplifying the radicals, but before that, can I simplify anything else? What can I simplify? Yeah, I can do 4 and 2. This will turn into 2 over 1. Radical 8 and radical 20, can I simplify that? What can I divide both 8 and 20 by? 4. So I can divide both of these by 4, so I'm left with radical 2 on my numerator. What can I divide radical 20 by? 4, and I'm left with radical 5. Can I leave it like this? No, I have a radical in my denominator. Okay, how do I get rid of this radical 5 in my denominator? Beautiful. Multiply both numerator and denominator by radical 5. Okay, if I multiply my numerator, I have 2 radical 2 times radical 5, and I'm left with what? 2 radical 10. Excellent. Radical 5 times radical 5? 5. Can I simplify 2 and 5? Can I simplify radical 10 over 5? No. Okay, one's in the radical, one's not in the radical, so leave it just the way it is. Next example, radical 3 over radical 5. Okay, can I simplify 3 over 5? No. Do I want this radical 5 in my denominator? No? Multiply both by radical 5. Excellent. Multiplying both by radical 5. Radical 3 times radical 5 is radical 15 over 5. You should always check to make sure you can't simplify what's in your new radical. So radical 15, can I simplify it? Can't do anything else, okay? So always check to make sure you can't do anything else. All right, let's throw some variables in there. So we got radical 2n over radical 3n squared. Can I simplify 2 and 3? Can I simplify n and n squared? Yeah, so I'm going to rewrite this as radical 2 over radical 3n. Those will simplify. They're both underneath the radical. I can simplify both of them. Do I want this radical 3n in my denominator? I'm going to multiply by what now? Good, radical 3n. Both numerator and denominator. So when I multiply radical 2 times radical 3n, I get radical 6n over radical 3n times radical 3n is simply 3n. So I have 6n over 3n. Can I simplify my n's? No, very good. Okay, one's underneath the radical, one's not. Next one. Change it up a little bit. So now we have a binomial in my numerator. 4 minus radical 5 over radical 3. Can't simplify to 4, can't simplify to radical 5, I can't simplify to radical 3. I don't want this radical 3 in my denominator, so I'm going to clear this by multiplying by radical 3. The only difference here is now I just have to distribute this radical 3 to my numerator. So I'm going to have 4 times radical 3, which is going to be what? 4 radical 3. And I'm going to have negative radical 5 times radical 3, which will be negative radical 15 over radical 3 times radical 3, 3. And I can't do anything else. Next one. 4 radical 5 minus radical 16. Look at your problem. Can I do anything? What? Yeah, radical 16. I could actually take the square root of that. So 4 minus radical 5 over 4. Can I simplify these 4's? Can I cross these out? No. In order for me to cross them out, there would have to be another 4 here, and I would have to cross out all of them. Then I can divide them all by 4, and I'll be left with 1 plus radical 5. But if it's only in 2 of them, I can't simplify it. Okay, it has to be in all 1, 2, 3 terms. So very similar to when you have the quadratic formula, x equals plus or minus 4 radical 5 over 4. If I can simplify to 4 out of all 3 terms, fine. If I can't, leave it alone. So my answer is just 4 minus radical 5 over 4. Radical 3 minus 5 over 5 radical 4. Before I multiply by radical 4, try to simplify this, what do you guys notice? Yeah, I could take the square root of 4. What is the square root of 4? So this really just becomes 5 times 2. So I just have radical 3 minus radical 5 over 10. Can I leave it like this? Yeah. Do I have a radical in my denominator? No. So don't try to complicate. Make sure you look for your easy way out. Next example, a little more challenging. So the square root of n minus 4 radical 3n squared over 4 times radical 11n to the 4th. Okay. Again, I'm going to recommend you simplify where you can. So I can simplify n squared, and I can simplify n to the 4th. So I'm going to rewrite this as radical n minus 4n radical 3 over 4n squared radical 11. My issue here is my radical 11 in my denominator. How do I get rid of that radical 11 in my denominator? Good. So I'm just going to multiply by radical 11. I don't care about the 4n squared. That's fine. So I'm going to just multiply by radical 11, radical 11. If I distribute in my numerator, I have n, radical n, times radical 11, which gives me what? Radical 11n. Minus 4n radical 3 times 11 becomes 4n radical 33 over, I have 4n squared times, what's radical 11 times radical 11? 11, and then I can simplify this. What's 4n squared times 11? So 44n squared will take over this piece here. Can I simplify 4 and 44? Can't do it. It has to be in all three terms. One more. Negative 2 minus 2, radical 2r to the fourth, radicals over radical 17r cubed. So here's our last example. Simplify it where we can. So I'm going to simplify this as negative 2 minus 2. I can simplify r squared here. So I'll have negative 2r squared, radical 2, over. I can simplify this here. I could break this up into 17r squared, r to the first. And I could take out r squared. So I'll have r 17 times r. I need to get rid of negative 17r in my denominator. So multiplying both through by radical 17r and radical 17r. I'm going to distribute this negative 2 out here. Negative 2 times 17r is going to be negative 2 radical 17r. Negative 2r squared times 17r is going to be minus 2r squared radical 34r over r times 1 is r. So I have r times 17r. 17r, radical 17r times radical 17r is just 17r. And to simplify this, negative 2 radical 17r minus 2r squared radical 34r over 17r squared.